Danvers, and welcome to the April 7th School Committee meeting. I'd like to start the session with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Okay. I'll start by reading Danvers Public Schools mission statement. Danvers Public Schools is a dynamic community of independent learners dedicated to respect, responsibility, creativity, and the pursuit of academic and personal excellence. This meeting is being broadcast on Danvers Community Access Television. Is anyone in the audience recording these proceedings? I see none. Okay, and just a quick reminder, our next meeting is May 12th, 2025. I'll repeat that at the end. And now we'll open the floor for any comments from the community. All right, and then we'll call up Miss Julie Bolduc, the newly elected. You can introduce yourself when you get up there.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I'm getting over what everybody's had. My name's Julie Bolduc DeFilippo, and I'm happy to announce that the Danvers CPAC held an election last week, and we've elected 3 board members, myself as chair, Jen Corsino as the inclusion specialist, and Melissa D'Amelio is going to be our treasurer, which is a role we haven't had filled in a long time. And Melissa has been really instrumental in the Thorpe PAC as their treasurer, so we're really excited to have her. So we're just really working on the transition from one board to the other. Something that we're also really excited about is we have a few partners within the community and in student services that have agreed to apply to the Federation's, it's called the Apple Institute. It means Advancing Parent Professional Leadership in Education. And it's October to June, I believe, next year. And it really focuses on how to engage families in CPAC, but also just in the school system in general, and how to collaborate, and which we thought was like perfect timing with, the student services being fairly new. We have a new board. We also have representation from the Danvers Accessibility Commission, the Northeast ARC, and Danvers Recreation is hoping to hire a new inclusion specialist that we hope will also be part of this team. And we really, thank Superintendent Power for supporting it right away. We're excited to and hopefully get chosen, and we'll know in May. And other than that, we're just hopefully get everything transitioned and schedule our first community meeting of the year.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. All right. Any items of interest for the school committee?
I just want to piggyback what Julie was just saying. I was invited to be part of that team, and I filled out I looked through it, and I filled out my application. And reading through it, I'm hoping that we're one of the communities that is chosen to participate in that academy, because it looks like it could bring a lot to the table for everybody in the district from top to bottom.
Thank you. And Mr. Grant? Oh, you might.
I just wanted to reference an email that I think you and I received in Dan about sidewalk issues on North Street, I think, or no, Locust Street. And I want to make sure there has been a response. I think I saw that you were going to.
Yes, I invited the group to come in to meet with me, I believe, April 16th, 12:30. If you're available, come on in. But I thought it'd be great to hear from them. And then, my job is to help, no pun intended, pave the way if there's a way to make things go, and certainly our connections with the DPW. So I wanted to hear about the scope first before and provide the best insight to help them.
Yeah, that would be, it might be an excellent project, but there'll be some bucks attached to that. Yeah.
Okay, and one note on the agenda for today, we're still going to do a presentation on school choice, but we'll move the hearing to the next meeting, which will be on May 12th. Wanted to give more parents the opportunity to hear the facts on the school choice component of that. So that's just the last update, I think, from the committee, and we'll toss it over to you, Superintendent Power.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to add one more thing. It's noteworthy is Saturday the Harlem Wizards came to town, and it was an incredible experience. Must have been well over 800 students and families, and the Wizards played the teachers. The Wizards won, surprisingly, but it was a great opportunity to bring the community together. Rock the Spectrum was there and provided a nice area for those students who may be challenged with the noises and such. So it was nice to create an inclusive event that I thought was well attended and a lot of fun. And I hope, the collaboration, I know the Thorpe Pack drove this, but we hope to build more collaboration, and we have a lot between the packs, and we'll continue that. So I thought it was great to bring the community together. And I guess I'll begin. So we have our student representative report, recognition from DECA tonight. We have a great presentation on naming the Colleen Ritzer Library. We'll introduce our incoming Danvers High School principal, Mr. Strauss, curriculum assessment subcommittee update, and then class companion with Ms. Morey's back there somewhere that she'll present the AI. So we're going to lead off with Julia, and I know Olivia's not here, but for our school report from our student representative.
Okay, I have a few things today. The first thing is about last Wednesday, which was the first ever Falcon Showcase at the high school. I got to attend and help represent the swim team, and then one of my honor societies that I'm in. I thought it was really, really cool because not only were a bunch of students there representing their clubs and their teams and honor societies and art, but teachers were there showing off different courses and clubs. Just all the opportunities at the high school. It was a great turnout. I thought it was super cool to just see everything kind of laid out at the high school. Yeah. My next bullet is about our concert band performed at the Micah Festival this past weekend, and they received a gold medal. So congratulations to all. Yeah, pretty awesome. This week is our annual Senior Spirit Week, so it's a lot of fun each day. Today was black tie, so we're all dressed up. It was freezing, but it was okay. Tomorrow is Decades Day. Wednesday is the classic, it's anything but a backpack day, so you can't bring your backpack. You have to bring all your school supplies and something else. So excited to see that. Thursday, we're all going to dress up as senior citizens, and then Friday's future plans. So if you're going to a college, military, trade, things like that. It's a fun week. Next, our Prism Club, which is our LGBTQ Alliance Club, they held their 4th annual Trans Day of Visibility at the North Shore Unitarian Church, I think over by the library. This event was just a really great, heartwarming way for transgender experiences at the high school to be heard, but also supported by everyone in our community. I went to the first one back when I was a freshman, and it was great. So I just know that's been added on each year. My last thing, and I was hesitant to talk about this because it's about what I went to, but on Friday, me and another senior, Josh Henry, we went to the State House for Student Government Day, which was a really cool experience. So it was like a mock joint session of Congress where there's a fake bill about cell phone use in schools, and people got to debate and share their own ideas. But it was a really cool experience to kind of witness firsthand. We went with our AP government teacher, Mr. Sandamaro. It was really cool to see because it was everything that we've been learning about, and to see us kind of act in the role. We got to meet our representative, Sally Kearns. We had a whole photo shoot with her, but it was a really great experience. And I know they're gonna keep continuing that tradition on each year. And yeah.
Congratulations. I will share the pictures of Student Government Day. We're very proud that you were able to attend and represent our school very well. I know Representative Cairns spoke to me and just how proud she was to have Danvers High School students there this year. So thank you for going and representing us so well. And I do want to give a quick shout out before we move on to the Falcon Showcase. The first Falcon Showcase, which is an opportunity to allow families and community to come in to see the great things that our high school has to offer. And it was outstanding, well done. I know we have some members of the high school faculty there, and Principal DeMauro and his team. It was wonderful. great performances by the band, but everything down to the unique courses we offer, and we hope to continue this. Our incoming principal, Alan Strauss, was there as well, so he has ideas to keep molding this. But you paved the way this year, and I just want to say that was a big event, and congratulations and well done. All right, we're going to move off to our next recognition. So we have DECA. So we have our high school advisor, Megan Boyle, to come up with some great representatives and all the good stuff that DECA has been doing and has done over the years. And I'll switch your slides whenever you're ready.
Thank you. You can put the first one on if you'd like. Thank you again for having us here. We've had another fabulous year at DECA, and I'm going to let the students tell you a little bit more about what we've done and what we have coming up in the next month. So again, I'm Megan Bullier. I'm the advisor. This is our 21st year of DECA at the high school. I started it 20 years ago with, I think it was, some of them probably are listening, 12 kids the first year, where we had 4 make the state conference and 1 student at our international conference. So it's come a long way. With me is Lily Delafano, who's our executive vice president, and Olivia Henry, who's our vice president of mentorship. They're 2 of our officers. They're going to tell you a little bit about what we've done this year.
So before we get started, like what DECA is, for those who don't know, is DECA is a club that prepares high school students, leaders, and entrepreneurs for careers in marketing, finance, hospitality, and management in high schools and colleges around the globe. So there's over 4,000 high school chapters and over 290,000 high school members. And so to dive in a little bit to Danvers DECA in our chapter, we had 267 DHS students compete at the district competition, and that was hosted this December at the Doubletree Hotel, and it was super, super successful as we had 142 students move on to the State Career Development Conference competition in February that was hosted in the Seaport in Boston, and then moving on from there, we're going to have 40 students represent 16 projects at the International Conference in Orlando. That will be later this month.
So for the first time this year, they did 2 rounds of competition. The state conference is now huge. There are students from over 100 chapters across the state. Over 3,000 students compete. And after the first day of competition, we had a top 12 announced, and those students competed again. So a lot of these students who are up here on the screen now are a lot of our underclassmen who made top 12 in their first year of competition. So these students presented again, and they either wrote a paper or did a professional selling event in many different areas.
So these are the students that were able to qualify for ICDC or our international conference this April. So as you can see, me and Lily are up there for our projects and community awareness and a sales project. We have people in the stock market game, which involves buying and selling stocks and writing a paper about that. Our school store qualified. And then we had other business solution projects, career development, which was working with our elementary schools, community giving, so raising money for local charities, and financial literacy, so being able to inform the community about what finance is and how we manage it and how we use them.
You want me to talk about this first part? So this first part was really exciting this year. Our school store once again got a gold level certification as an SBE. But what was exciting this year, one of my goals for the year, was to try to bring more of the development in-house. So over the summer last year, we asked Deep if they would be willing to work with us to start making and creating our own merchandise within the store. So Deep helped us to purchase a heat press, and now most of the merchandise that we're selling through the school store has been designed and made by our students in the store. So they design the logos online, we sell it out, and we have a transfer machine now, a heat press, and the students are now making all of their own merchandise, which was a great addition this year. We have some other projects that they're going to tell you a little bit about, and then we'll see if you have any questions.
So beginning with one of our extremely successful groups that made it to the international conference was Boss Babies, and this falls under the career development category. And so what these students did, Audrey Lapine,
Lizzie Farrell and Kelly McRae, is they worked with the fifth graders at Smith School. And they made each groups, and they basically imitated a sort of business or shop. And other students were given money, and they were allowed to invest and buy in these certain products that the other students in fifth grade groups created.
Financial Futures, who is there here tonight as well, but this year they did a financial literacy project aimed at actually the 8th graders here at HRMS. That was the stock market game. So again, that process of buying and selling stocks in real time with 8th graders here.
So then moving on to Invest, this is a project management financial literacy in that category, and it is basically all of our seniors. They were given these jobs and money, and they basically had to go through a real life simulation. How do you buy a house? How are you working with your salary and imitating what your future career could look like? And one really cool thing about it this year is that they noticed last year that they were struggling with the introduction to the project. So this year they expanded to 9th and 11th graders with 2 introduction simulations that helped prepare for the course that will occur their senior year.
Next, we have Fallback Fest, which was an event hosted back in October at the high school in front of in the field, which helped raise over $3,000 for our DECA chapter. And it had many fun events, raffles, fun games, local businesses, and other vendors. And yeah.
So yeah, we'll have them tell you quickly about their projects, but some other groups we worked with were Morgan's Message, Katie's Closet. We have a group that worked with the 4th graders at Highlands about introducing STEM. And then we had a group working with the 8th graders here at the middle school to get them ready for high school next year called Emerging Leaders, where they did a program with the 8th graders, teaching them what DECA is and getting them excited to join DECA. So just quickly, they could tell you just briefly about their projects, and then if there's any questions.
So diving into my project, it was in the community awareness category, and my goal with my partner, Jack Cronus, was to raise awareness for the disease multiple sclerosis, and that is basically where the immune system attacks the protective sheath or the myelin in your nerve bodies, and it causes a disruption in the communication between the brain and the rest of your body, ultimately affecting the function of your body. And what we did was partner with the nonprofit organization MS for MS, Mission Stadiums for Multiple Sclerosis, to help raise awareness. And we did this through a school-wide assembly. We did this through dedication games where we spread orange, which is their mission statement, and raise money through online fundraising.
So my project's called Bark and Bling, and I do it with Brooke Lachowski. And so our project was a sales project, and we created a dog bandana brand that we went to local events within our community, like Fallback Fest, and we sold them online through our website, and we sold custom dog bandanas that we sold for $5 each, with all the money that we raised being donated back to the DECA chapter, as well as other local initiatives like the Talbot Memorial 5K, and even we partnered with some of the elementary schools' PACs and split the profit with them.
So if you need a dog bandana
Yeah.
with your elementary or high school, feel free to reach out. We still have plenty of dog bandanas.
And you got a heat press.
Yes,
Yes.
and a heat press that we can put their names on too. So as you can see, one of the big goals of DECA is about public speaking, getting up in front of groups, and as you can see from these 2 examples and throughout the chapter, the students get so much experience learning to do a project from beginning to end. Think about what could go wrong, send out emails, fix things as they go, the planning, the goals, the implementation, and then looking back and evaluating what worked. And through that process, they become better creative thinkers, they learn problem-solving skills, and obviously professionalism and public speaking skills. So, I mean, I think they do a much better job than I ever could at explaining what they do, and I think that's a tribute to what they've gotten from the program over the years. So, do you have any questions for us?
I just have for both of you, and you can answer it in any way you like. I mean, how has DECA impacted you personally?
I can speak on this really, really well. When I first came in my freshman year, I joined DECA, and it was mostly because my older sister was the vice president, and she was excellent at DECA. And I joined because I saw how much it grew her as a student. She was very shy, introverted, and became, someone who was amazing at public speaking and really came out of her shell. And so I joined my freshman year, and I was very, very overwhelmed. But through the program, through the officers, and through Miss Sims, she really helped me grow as a person. From the night before my district competition, I was in tears, nervous, and she helped me work through that and learn as a student that I have to work through those hardships. And it ended up me qualifying for the international conference my freshman year. And it really flourished me as a person and expanded my horizons.
I know that Ms. Sim just kind of covered it a little bit, but really why I do DECA is the opportunity for my future. And I've even spoken to like local business owners, and they're like, they who have done DECA, and they're like, I wouldn't be here without DECA. And it's definitely, as I'm only a sophomore, so getting to know what I want to do in my future. Even last year, I did a finance project, and understanding and getting to know what finance is in our community at a local level. Even this year, doing a sales project, creating a business, and what that looks like and what that can lead to in my future and how it works, and just having a better understanding, and even forming connections within my community, like working with the dog park, people I don't normally reach to, or communities I don't connect with. And that's my favorite part about it.
Thank you so much. Incredible.
Yeah. Megan, you have built an amazing program with your students, and see where it's gone from the beginning until now. It's just fantastic. And the two things that stood out to me from this presentation are, number one, the amount that you're giving back to the younger students who are coming behind, and not just those who will join DECA, but teaching sort of life skills to those students, and the idea of helping the middle schoolers transition, just fantastic. And the other thing I would simply say to students here and anyone else from DECA who's in the audience, your presentation skills are at this point as good or better than a lot of people I see in business. I'm guessing the same thing for you, Gabe. It's just fantastic. And what you're learning here is going to take you through your whole life. You have a leg up on students who are in college right now who haven't had the same opportunities that you have. So congratulations. I know it's something you must put an awful lot of work into and an awful lot of time into, and something you feel passionate about, and it will pay off. Thank you.
Congratulations on the continued and consistent success of the program. I definitely need a dog bandana, so I'm going to look for that. And then the last thing I'm going to ask the young ladies is, in your opinion, what is the probability that glass is coming back to Danvers?
What do you think?
100%.
Could you do me one favor and explain to my friends here what glass means?
So glass is what the top three winners receive at our international conference.
It's the ultimate goal.
So just a side note, about 8 or 9 years ago, Ms. Bullier asked me to DJ an event at Merrimack College for the DECA competition. And when I tell you it was impressive to see, well, Danvers had probably the largest representation there, but to see how many students take this seriously, and that being said, how many of our students excel at it, just shows that we're doing something great in our schools. That to be able to go across the board and to have this many kids heading down to Orlando, and like Mike said, bring home glass, possibility of bringing home some glass. What was the last time we did that? Maybe 2019?
2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago?
Yep.
Okay, because I remember some of the guys that year that I was involved with that event came back, or they came to talk at it. But it's just impressive to see how everybody here just takes it so seriously, and it just excels forward. And I want to one-up Mike. I have 2 dogs, so I need 2 bandanas. So.
I just want to add to that. I just can't tell you how proud we are of not only the program, but just the work and the crossing over to the elementaries, to the middle school, getting them excited. I mean, this really is everything that we're talking about, the porch of the graduate. All those skills of collaboration, creativity, communication, all the things that are important for success after high school are happening here under our our walls, and more than a quarter of our students participate in DECA. But I also would be remiss not to mention there's a lot of support for DECA, and DEEP is a huge supporter, and they need a shout out as well because it's a lot of money to go to the trips and such, and they help fundraise and support the program. So DEEP, it takes more than just one, right? You have a tremendous team, and there are others that are supporting you in our community.
Absolutely. DEEP has been there for us from the start. They help out when students have financial trouble. Our big rule is that never will a student not be able to participate because of finances, and that takes people in our community. And also, I have an incredible team of teachers that are unbelievable, a couple with me tonight that are just above and beyond, just as invested as the kids, and their heart and soul is in it as well. So we're lucky to have all the pieces that do come together in this community.
Awesome. Get a couple quick photos.
Oh, yeah, please. It's just, sometimes I cry before presentations, so don't worry. It's normal.
Oh, this is a good picture right here. Look at this. Thank you so much. Awesome. Great presentation. And actually, to dovetail off of the DECA presentation, we have a follow-up. So as you may remember, last year, the school committee approved naming the high school library the Colleen Ritzer Library, although I'm not sure that it's formally, the title's been firmed. But to help raise money and make this a reality, we have a DECA presentation, and I just want to say thank you to Ms. Glenn and Mr. Hamilton who've helped provide the support, but I just thought this was a great way of interfacing the students with the community and the high school, and the floor is all yours.
All right, yeah, if you want to go to the next slide.
Oh, did I get it on here? Mary, what happened?
Might be somewhere.
I went the wrong way. Did I get excited? No, I have a whole presentation. If you could just maybe tell us a little bit about yourselves. And
Yeah,
buy
yeah,
me
that's no
a
problem.
minute here.
Yeah, that's no problem. All right, so I'm Natalie Barrett. This is my third year doing DECA, and next year will be my fourth. This is my second year working with Megan. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm also a junior at Danvers High School, and this is also my third year doing DECA.
Yeah, and we actually, like they said earlier, we had a project called Financial Futures this year. We came here, worked with the students, taught them how to use a stock market simulator, while we also created our own videos educating them on a bunch of topics. And then we found out about the mural idea and the changing the name of the library to the Colleen Ritzer Memorial Library, and we were offered the opportunity to help fundraise as that became an issue along the way. So we decided for our group name for it to be Kind Legacy because, like before, it's all about spreading the message of being kind, and we want to continue Colleen Ritzer's legacy. All right, so our project goal, like I just said, is to continue the memory of Colleen Ritzer, who passed away. She carried a lot of values that we want to be continued throughout our school. And in doing so, we think this can be done by creating a mural in our library, which students can see every single day. Our idea for this mural would not only be to have it, but a board with who she is, so people wouldn't forget her as teachers pass on, and not pass on, but just continue throughout their life. And then as students continue to pass through the school. And then we're just really hoping that students never forget, or teachers never forget, of who she is and the morals that she brought upon everyone else.
Sorry. So our mural plan is we're hoping to have some like fundraising type just like events, and we're hoping to raise around $30,000 in order to have this mural inputted, and that each student can just be able to really at any time be able to go in and see this. And we're really hoping to raise as much as we can to make sure that this dream not only comes through for us, but also for all the teachers at Danvers High. So our vision will there will be a change from the library to the Colony Ritter Memorial Library. Sorry. There will be a mural which students we can look at along with a plaque to continue the memory of Colleen. We're also hoping to have a reveal once the end of the mural is completed. We're hoping this will be around the beginning of the school year so that there's no project complications while students are in school. And some of our fundraising plans are we are hoping to promote throughout the community of Danvers, Andover, and just all throughout the North Shore. We're also hoping to go through families and friends and businesses, whether that is local or common donations and just any businesses in general. We're also hoping to utilize a calendar raffle. The calendar raffle will take place through May, which marks Colleen's birthday month. Raffle tickets will be available for purchase during April, and winners will be drawn during the month of May on each day. We're also hoping to have a merchandise line using hopefully the Falcon's Nest and the Danvers DECA website. We're hoping to extend the original quarter zip. Sorry, Mr. Hamilton will go grab it. We're also hoping to make new hoodies and even more new quarter zips.
Yeah, these were the original quarter zips, which many of the teachers in our school have. I actually don't know if any teachers don't have them, but we know that it's a great way of promoting not only the message, but the fact that we are fundraising and it's bringing awareness to the community. All right, so what we need for fundraising, sorry, next slide, please. All right, so we're looking to use an app called, or more of a platform called Give Butter. I know that our school has used this a lot. It doesn't take money out of any donations. It's very accessible, easy to use. It connects to other accounts in which people can donate to. So it's just very easy to use. And even for the ICDC trip, which DECA, so the international trip is going on, we even recently used Give Butter to collect money. And we discovered that through the app of Give Butter, we can hold events. So the event of our calendar raffle would be able to operate out of Give Butter, allowing for our project to stay consistent on one platform so that anyone looking to donate can not only see that they can donate just money to the idea, but they can also participate in our events. So what we are looking for in order to operate the Give Butter is that in order for this project to run smoothly and follow the timeline we're hoping for, we need to have a lot of access to the account and the money coming in, because as people buy tickets for the raffle, we need to know who they are, how many tickets they bought, so we can give them the proper prize they are looking to receive. And so we have a project at Danvers High School, continuing with the DECA. It's nice that we can keep it inside, but it's called, to us, we refer it as Friends of DECA. It's a fundraising account in which we could connect our Be Kind Legacy project into, in which we would have control and set up the account under them, in which we would be able to have access and have the money be collected in one place without having a complication of having to separate the money from other transactions going through. So it would allow for us to know exactly what money was going towards our project, and in addition would give our team, me, Megan, our other partner, Alejandro Bordier, and the teachers all access, so we can just make sure this runs smoothly and efficiently and we can meet our goal. All right, and thank you so much. Is there any questions?
Okay. I'll send it over to Mike Shannon. Great idea. Who are you planning on having create the mural?
The mural, so we're currently looking, so the previous teachers who had a little committee, they did a fabulous job. They did a bunch of research and they found a company called White Light Visual. They were able to give us a previous run through of the prices and estimated cost for the project, which is where our $30,000 came from. And that would include the mural and the plaque, which we think is just really going to sum up what we're looking for. And we already discussed with them, and they confirmed that they'd like to work with us, and we're currently in the process of planning a time to meet with them so they can scope out the area and make sure that it's we're going to be able to get it up to where we'd like it to be.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Um, This is such a worthy project. I think Mary and I are the only ones up here who were here at the time that she lost her life. And Colleen was really beloved. And to find a way to honor her memory like this, and the fact that you folks who didn't even know her are doing this is a fantastic thing, and it's much appreciated. And it will mean a lot to the faculty here, I know, who knew and loved her as well. So, I hope it's tremendously successful, and thank you for doing this.
Yeah, of course. And even though us as students haven't met her, we're very well aware of her impact. And to our everyday life, we understand the kindness we should implement, which not only continues her legacy, but continues to build a stronger community and world.
It's a wonderful thing to do. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Everything everyone said, I double down on. Oh, go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
So to kind of go off of what Eric was saying, I might not have been in this role, but I was an assistant coach with the girls soccer team. On that day, we were in the building shortly after we found out, and to say that the impact it had on this community was very severe. Waking up that morning and having friends who work at the high school, work at the high school, not knowing who it was. It was just a big, big deal, and it weighed heavy for weeks, for days, for months, for years. It still puts a piece on me here, but I applaud everything that you guys are all doing, taking guidance of some great people that have been around a long time, but to keep this going, because she was, I had only met her a few times, but everything I ever heard of her was nothing but positive, and to have that memory go, there's nothing better. I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
I don't know if Ms. Glenn or Mr. Hamilton, I know they're quietly in the back, but they've been driving the work, but more importantly, have utilized our talented students, but a lot of work has been done in the back, and I appreciate your efforts as well, and whatever we can do to support, please let us know. And the Give Butter is the district platform. We don't have Venmo. It allows for better accountability, and again, on our end, our doors are always open, so please let us know how we can help advertise, get the word out. We're just so proud of you. Thank you. All right. And I do have my pullover, by the way. That was the first item I purchased coming aboard, so thank you, and it still fits. Next up is we'd like to introduce our incoming high school principal, Mr. Alan Strauss. It was a great process. We had wound up with 3 outstanding candidates, a strong pool, but Mr. Strauss rose to the top. We did a very extensive search, and it goes to say that he brings a wealth of experience, but he's been very successful as a high school teacher, as an administrator. Also, he's a coach. He's a dad. I don't want to steal his thunder. But his experience over multiple areas, I think, will bring a lot to not only Danvers High School, but to our school community. And I listed his accolades on here, and they're quite impressive in terms of everything from District Teacher of the Year to Coach of the Year to Principal of the Year, finalist for the Massachusetts Principal of the Year, and just and just my time in knowing Mr. Strauss, he's not one to toot his horn, so it goes to say a lot about him and his style. So I'm looking forward to working with him. I think he's going to bring a breath of fresh air to the school community, and I certainly know that our current administrative team, they're outstanding, and they've been working with Mr. Strauss to transition in, and I know he's eager to work with our great staff at the high school, and he's already been a sounding board to me because he has been a superintendent. So anyway, I think I've said enough, and I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Strauss.
How are you? Very good. I'm very, very excited. All we have to do is listen to the kids, and students are our why. I'm a dad of 2. My daughter, who is now a special education teacher, was a typical DECA athlete, driven, 4 AP classes, the typical. On the other end, I have a special ability angel. He's 19. He cannot read. He cannot write. He cannot hold a pencil. He struggles with 2+2, but he plays the drums, the piano, and the guitar fluently. And what that has taught us is really the idea that students have no limitations. We just have to find where they are. Jack will be with me often. You will see him. He'll just kind of follow me around, and he will take over the school without question. I'm so excited to be here. Actually, I know Peter has done an amazing job this year, and I'm really looking forward to working with him and Patrick and Carrie. But last year, when the opening happened and Adam left, I immediately contacted Dan and said, I want to come. But he was already in the process, and it made sense. But I'm really excited to be here. I came to the showcase, and that was fantastic. I'm looking forward. I'm going to be at faculty meetings. I'm going to be setting up some times to meet with students and as many teachers as possible before everybody gets out in June. One of our goals is for our juniors who are going to become seniors is to make sure this is going to be your third principal in 3 years. And transition is always scary. It's scary for adults. And so my job is to ensure that we are going to keep Danvers moving forward without upheavaling too many things, because it doesn't make sense. I firmly believe in Collins's book, Good to Great, and how do we make something excellent even better. I'm a graduate of the University of Connecticut, and so, we're all excited about another championship. But as Oriama, always says, we're good, we're great, we can be better. And so what do? How do we provide more opportunities for students? How do we empower more teachers without upheavaling things? And that's really the key. I know I'm going to be attending a CPAC meeting soon. I'm excited about being involved with them, and I know from a special education lens, we watch DECA, and as a special education parent, we say, well, what's for us? And so my job, and I've always done it, is how do we bring everybody to the table? And how do we make this a place for everyone? So everyone is heard, everyone is seen, and everyone feels important. Whether we're going to Harvard, whether we're going to the military, all of it's important. And every journey is just as important as everybody else's. So I'm really excited. Thank you.
Anyone have a comment?
Oh, Alan, I saw your interview on Zoom, and I just remember saying to myself, boy, this man is extraordinary. And not just because of the educational background, but I think the life skills, the impact of being a special ed parent. I'm one myself, and I know how that makes you grow and widens your viewpoint of the world and the empathy that helps build. And I think all of that came across in your interview, along with just a fantastic skill set and resume. So I am thrilled that you're here, and certainly wish you all the best. You have our support. You have got a great team at the high school.
Yep.
Peter has kept this year going amazingly well, and you're stepping into a really good situation with good people, and that's a recipe for success. Welcome aboard. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Well, welcome aboard, and I look forward to walking the halls with you in the very near future. It's kind of
Absolutely.
one of my favorite things. So, and
Absolutely.
me and a few members of the committee like to do that every so often. So,
Visibility is key for everybody.
absolutely, absolutely.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. I teach special education myself. I work in a program in Lynn myself with children on the autism spectrum in the elementary schools. So I don't go on as many tours as they do, but if you want to come up to the press box during a football game, I'm the announcer.
I'll
So
be there.
come on up and say hello.
Okay.
Thank you for being here, for wanting
you.
to be here. I have three graduates of Danvers High School, and we've always felt Danvers Public Schools was a special place. Good things happen here every day, and I appreciate your Yukon reference. You had to drop that, right? I would have been disappointed to find out that you didn't. And I agree with you. Just because you're excellent doesn't mean you can't improve. We're looking forward to just and the staff is fantastic. fantastic. We're moving this forward, and we wish you well.
Thank
and,
you.
Let's get to work.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for commenting on our current admin team. They've done an outstanding job transitioning, but I don't look at them as transition. They are just the heart and soul and great things. So we look forward to a great year here. All right, we're going to move forward to our summary of the Curriculum and Assessment Subcommittee meeting. And Mary Wormer is going to take over from here.
Great. All right. A couple weeks ago, we had a good subcommittee meeting where we shared our mid-year assessments. I'll get closer to the microphone. So if you go to the next slide, just give you some context, just of the different types of data that we have at the Danvers Public Schools that we use. If you look at this pyramid, it kind of summarizes the amount of time we spend, or just the amount that these are looked at each year. So for example, at the top is MCAS because that comes in the fall. So it's a one-time a year assessment that we look at. Moving down the pyramid, there's we have look at survey data. Again, that happens once, maybe twice a year, and we look and assess that data. Then as you move further down into the middle, this is when we get into the more frequent assessments. So we have benchmark assessments that are given beginning, middle, and end of the year. So that's our like iReady data that you'll hear tonight, and our DIBELS data at the elementary school. And we also have math benchmark assessments as well. And then underneath are just what happens with the teachers in their daily work. So there's weekly common form of assessments looked at by grade level teams or course teams at the high school. And then a teacher daily uses formative assessment to assess. So there's lots of data happening to be gathered. It's just how is it able to be shared publicly with you. And so the benchmark or common assessment data is the best data to share with you. So moving on to the elementary school. This is the DIBELS data that is in this chart. That's our reading data. So if you look at this chart, on the left side of the chart as you're looking at it, was our data from the 23-24 school year. And then on the right side of the data is our 24-25 school year data. So you'll see there's only two columns on that side of the chart filled out because we had the beginning of the year data and the mid-year data. Now, we're really going to look at K-3 on this chart because that is the 23-24 school year had the same data collected, assessments used as the 24-25 school year. So when we look at the 23-24 school year from the beginning of the year to mid-year, there was about a 15% increase in the students' achievement on the DIBELS for K-3. And this year, 24-25, we're seeing more of like 19% increase. So that was promising for us to see a bigger increase from beginning to mid-year over the last 2 years. So that was great. Now, in 4th, 5th, we used different data, or we used only one subtest of the data for the DIBELS, and that's why those scores were higher. Because the K-3 data is a composite score, so it's multiple subtests combined into a composite score. We use this platform called M-Class that does the metrics for us, and this school year we were able to purchase it so that we could use it K-5. So now we have really good data, K-5 being reported. And just if you were interested, the 4-5 from beginning year to the mid-year is 11% increase. Finally, for math, we don't have data to report because we just began to build a new benchmark system to measure fluency and really help zero in on specific skill needs of students. So this mid-year data was analyzed by our PLC leaders, and they brought the data back to the classroom teachers and shared with them specific interventions that they could use with their students. So identifying which students really need skill-specific interventions and then the actual interventions to use with the students. At the middle school, we use the iReady, as I talked about earlier, as our benchmark data. So on the left side is the ELA data, or reading data, and on the right side is the math data. And if you look at one chart individually, the left side of the data is the grade when you're on grade level, and on the right side of the chart is where you are a little bit you're below the grade level. So what we saw between beginning of the year and mid-year is that they decreased on the right side and it increased on the left side. So that was really important for us to see. So in ELA, from the beginning of the year to mid-year, we saw a 15% increase in the kids scoring on grade level or above. So that's promising. So we're looking for, improvements in greater improvements from middle to the end as well. And then in the math, the same thing happened. You can see the decreasing on the bar graph on the right side and the increasing on the left side. And there we saw actually a 32% increase of kids working towards grade level and above. So those are promising data points for us at Fulton Richmond School. At the high school, we don't usually have this type of benchmark data because there's so many courses happening at the high school level. So what Danvers High really did was focused on each course group analyzing their midterm data and seeing how kids could do. So they were really working on preparing kids for that data, for the mid-year exam, and then analyzing it afterwards. So Peter did that as the principal and the curriculum director, combination role that he has, had the PLC facilitators. That means one person from each course was in the room, and they analyzed the mid-year data. And they did, they followed a protocol. And on the next slide, I'll share some of the findings from that. And so this is just 3 courses. There's many courses and too much data for you to share with you. But I gave you some findings from their analyses and then inferences for work that they would do moving forward. So in ELA, they're piloting an IXL program, which is very similar to iReady, and they're seeing the English teachers are seeing really great improvements on specific skills, literacy skills in ELA. So they really found that helpful, and they're going to continue to try to use that to help close those gaps. And they definitely saw a shift in achievement for students in the mid-year compared to last year. In biology, they're really working hard to align their standards and to application-based assessments. So they're really working on like a proficiency scale for their standards, like how kids are at meeting the standard. And so what they found that work really, putting that on the midterm and teaching kids in that way has really improved their achievement and on their biology midterm. And then finally in world history, they're using, and Diane's coming up in a moment to talk to you about Class Companion, the AI. It's an AI program used with kids. It gives immediate feedback to kids based on a rubric that the teacher uses. And they saw a 40% increase from their students in from their initial assessment in October, I can't talk tonight, to their mid-year assessment. So looking forward to having Diane come up and share that with you. I think I'm done.
So we'll have Diane Morey come up, and her data and information was shared in the subcommittee in terms of ways they can provide instant feedback to students. Right, a huge component of learning is to receive feedback, and it can be challenging as a former social studies teacher when you have 20 essays to grade, get them back on a timely basis where they can actually use the feedback to apply for the next. I just want to turn this over, and I know, just to set this up further, if there's more information, there's another slideshow that has more detail if you'd like, for the school committees or even come in and visit Ms. Morey's classroom.
Thank you. So I'm Diane Morey. I teach high school history at the high school. And so I've been using Class Companion actually for a couple of years. When it first came out, I was one of the initial people that was doing it, and I actually went down to the Social Studies Convention in Nashville and presented there and talked about it. And it has just kind of improved. And this year, I felt confident that it was good enough that I thought I should present it to Dan and Mary and Peter. And so we came in and we looked at it, and I was showing them kind of the capacity for data and all of that. And it was really quite good. So this actually, I have to say, I had Sage Chatty, the chat bot, which is my chat GPT. He came up with this for me. So what is Class Companion? I'm all about using the AI. It's AI-powered platform, helps students improve reading comprehension, writing, critical thinking through interactive and standards-aligned assessments. It's designed to kind of complement classroom instruction, but not replace it. For me personally, what it does is it helps me to be able to give more writing assignments to my students for them to write to practice, write to practice, write to practice. So for me, I have one honors class that has 28 kids, another one that has 20. I have a co-taught class that has 20, and then my AP European history class has 28, I think it is, this year. And for all of them, but particularly for AP, the writing practice is absolutely essential. I've actually got 34 kids, I think, signed up for next year's AP, and that's a lot of reading that on the practice stuff that I just could not give back to them in a timely fashion. So this allows them to get the practice. The AI gives them the feedback, which you'll see on one of the slides I put up here, and then I am able to look over what the AI says. I'm able to conference with kids on the essays that will be more for grades and things like that. And then, but the students get the feedback right away, and it's not waiting for me to circle around to all 28 of them, which is tough. And it is used across all subjects. I use it, I teach one of the DECA classes. I teach accelerated DECA as well. I've used it for kids to practice their role plays in my accelerated DECA class. So I've used it across everything and have talked most of my colleagues into using it too. So go ahead. Yep. For the kids, there's basically everything that I already said. One of the big things is the kids kind of have a chance to look at it and get feedback from the AI itself, so that when I create an assignment, and I give them 2 or possibly 3 chances on it. So they do their first one, the AI gives feedback. I can actually set the reading level of the feedback. So for my AP kids, I'm setting it at, a high school level. For my kids in my co-taught class who may be reading at a 4th or 5th grade reading level, I can actually set the feedback to be at their level so that they can understand it. It gives back feedback. And then it also gives them it has a little bot that will answer their questions and help them out as well. So go ahead and move that forward. So this is actually an example, one of my students' attempts here. So this is what the student sees when they do their work. This is their writing on the left-hand side, and then the feedback that the rubric gives is that they give is based on the rubric that I provided for the class. So they get feedback, and then if you want to go to the next one there, they have a chance to rewrite it. Class Companion tells me what's pasted in, so that if they choose to be sneaky and try to use a chatbot themselves, I'm like, looks like you pasted this whole thing in. You're supposed to type in there. So it gives me feedback on that and tells me exactly what was pasted in. And then I can read what the students say. If the students feel like something was scored wrongly, you see the little looks like almost like a paint roller next to each one. They can actually dispute something that the AI gives them for feedback, and that will pop up on my side, and then I can go in, look at it, look at the feedback, and either talk to the student myself, or if they do it at home, I can see it, I can give them feedback right there, say, this is what the AI meant, and this is why you got the score you got, and we'll come in and talk about it and take a look at that. So go ahead. The program actually gives me insights for each of my classes. This is one of my whole class summaries for my co-taught class. So it talks about this is where their average score is, how long it takes them to do it, how many attempts they tried. Some kids will try 2 attempts, some will only do 1, and some do 1 and get a great score the first time, others do 1 and I'm like, it's good enough for me. So no, you're gonna try more. But it tells me an overall, but I also get something just like this for each individual student. So my co-teacher, particularly my special ed co-teacher in my co-taught class, he actually is using the data from there when he's writing his progress reports for special education, so that he can write a progress report and say, student made it from here to here. Wanna move that forward? This is more data that I get from the students, so I can see as a whole class, this goes from the top score down to the bottom score, and it tells me how much their change was in percentage points up from the first attempt to the second attempt. It tells me how many times they tried. I also get information on how long it took them. I can see that all as well. All right, go ahead and move that. Yep. I can also see individual students and whole class on where they're doing. So this is a rubric that I had for a essay they had to write about the Vikings. And so, or should say a short answer. And so that's the main criteria that I had. And then it tells me how my students scored. So I know, for example, looking at this, that their weakest area is still in explaining the evidence. So they can pick some evidence pretty well. They write their claim, but they need to explain it better. So that informs me on where I need to work with the students as a whole and as individuals. Go ahead. All right. And then this is in one individual student's scores with this student here. This is top to bottom, but that bottom one about Confucius is actually their first score. And then evaluating Anansi as a messenger up there, that is how far she has managed to progress over the course of several months on this. And she can actually also see her all of these insights too. So the students can actually go in and take a look at their own work and their own progress and see how well they've done and how much they've improved on. I think, is that the last one? That's it. So if you have any questions, I had 17 slides and Dan kindly told me no. Like, sorry, it's the teacher in me. But I have a longer slide. And anything you want me to talk about, and I'm happy to help you out with that. Got any questions?
Question and comment. By the way, I absolutely love this, so kudos to you for diving in and doing this. And obviously, you've been recognized and you're speaking at conferences now about this. In my professional world, I actually tell my colleagues, because I'm AI certified as well, that it's not going to replace you, but the people who don't use it are going to be replaced.
Yes.
And I honestly think that is the future of AI. I guess my question for you, I mean, it's like clear efficiencies, you're still engaged, you're doing more. It sounds like, but I don't think you said it outright, like the students are actually, do you find that they're progressing a lot faster with this in place than before?
Yes, and it was interesting because at the beginning of the school year, they were very frustrated with it because they're like, it keeps giving me feedback, and I'm like, well, it's going to keep giving you feedback. That's what you should, each time it's like, why isn't it perfect yet? I'm like, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But this, it gives them concrete. They don't, they can't probably read my chicken scratch when I give handwritten feedback anyways. So it gives them concrete feedback, and it has actually very much improved them. And at first they were kind of like, but now now they're like, they like it because they realize that they have several chances to do this, which it should always be. It should always be a growth, not just a boom, this is your grade, you're done with it. And this way they can keep going until they get it. I give them for their midterm exams, I give them practice questions. I give them 8 chances to try, and they can do it as many times as they want to get the feedback so that they kind of have an idea of what they want to write for their essays on their exams.
Well, I am 100% a fan of this. The only question I have, just knowing how whenever I try to use some sort of AI, and you said that they could dispute a question. What's the margin of error for how many times do they win that argument against AI, so to speak? Because I feel like it's not going to be too many, but I'm just curious as to how pinpointed it is.
So yeah, it for the most time, sometimes if I give it it really depends on how strict I make the rubric. And sometimes I'll tell the students, my rubric's going to be very strict on this one, and I'm saying you need to have an exact specific example of this and that. Usually when they dispute it, it's one of the ones where I have a more difficult, more challenging rubric that the students have to follow. Whereas sometimes I'm just looking if it's, hey, what do you think about this? We looked at Mansa Musa and his $400 billion trip to give away gold across North Africa. And then I asked them to compare it to modern day philanthropists like Mackenzie Scott and Melinda Gates, and asked them, how has philanthropy changed? What's the role of philanthropy and stuff like that? And in that case, they're just giving their opinion. And so my rubric is a lot more simple. It's just, do you give an opinion? Do you give a specific example? And if you do, so a lot of them will get it first time, maybe second time through, will get a perfect score. But on the ones that are more complex, they tend to dispute it. Once in a while, I'll agree with the student, and I'll say, okay, I understand, the AI thought it was, that you should be harder on this, and I was like, I'd give you the point for that. So I do override once in a while, but it is remarkably accurate.
Ultimately, when I think about writing, I'm always thinking about the fact that eventually you want to get to the point where you have your own voice, and that comes through in the writing. But there's also that technical part of getting the grammatic piece right, getting the structure correct. And it seems to me this is where you can come in, especially with some of the more talented writers that you have, that you can help them get to that voice part.
Yeah.
But everybody has to understand at least how to communicate effectively in writing, and to write well enough that someone says, right, they know what they're doing. And I think that's what this particular instrument can help. This tool can help with that piece.
Yeah.
And, and then it becomes developing their own voice, which is something that takes the human contact and the human feedback, I think. So I love what you're doing with this, and I think it sets you up to make some great writers.
Yeah, and they have been, my AP kids have been really embracing it. I'm really impressed with the amount of, and for that's the exact technical, like I read for the AP, I go to Kansas City every June and read Dr. Bauer's neck of the woods out in Missouri. And I know what's needed there, and it really is just like boom, 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 point, 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 and Class Companion for that. That's originally what Class Companion was set up for, was for AP. I actually, was working with the woman who was the founder of this, and said to her, I've been using this in my regular history classes. I've been using it in this, and then they decided to expand it out from there. But it is that, and then the voice. A lot of times with the voice, I have, I'll have them write it, and those are the types of things particularly that I will then specifically read myself and give feedback for. So the ones that I just go, and, oh, boom, 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 you get credit for it, those are things that it's practice, right to practice, right to practice. And then when we're doing something particularly special, then it's all about the voice as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bauer has something else to say.
Yeah, I do. We can't leave yet. Right? We cut you down to 9 from 17, but just teasing. As I look at this, and how has this changed your approach to teaching, right? Because those that might be old like myself, it's completely different in terms of teaching and learning. But how has this changed how you help students?
So for me, it allows me, number one, to know right away if they got something. And it's not, I'm not taking home a stack of, 60 essays and then, I'll wade through it 3 days later. I can see right away what they can, if there's misunderstandings and things like that. And that means the next day I can come in and correct things that that they got wrong, whether it's content or whether it's arguing. It also allows me to take an argument that a student made that was really solid and put it up for the students to be able to see, to say, hey, this is one that did well, and let's talk about why it did well. So it helps a lot with the analysis of where the kids are at and where they need to be.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you guys have any questions, honest to God, come by my classroom.
I'm
It's chaotic.
looking forward to that. Okay. Now on to the amended item. We'll still do the school choice presentation, but we'll move the hearing to the next session. So back to you, Mr. Bauer.
Okay, my pleasure. So I actually upgraded this presentation that was back in March. Just informing the school committee has indicated that through last year's budget season, we do research on school choice to bring back the pros and cons, see if this would be an option that would be advantageous to us considering. But just as a reminder that every year, all districts have to have a public hearing and voting before June 1 to opt out of school choice, right? That's regulation for us. So we have that hearing every year. So that's important to know that it's an opt-out every year. The other piece, too, is that the law allows students to attend public schools in any town in the state. Districts that participate in choice, they can receive students. Districts like ours that do not participate, we have no say whether students decide to go to another place for their education in the public school setting. That's important to note. The other component to school choice is that we can limit the amount, if we would decide to participate, we set the limit of receiving out-of-district students we accept by grade, and that is by year. So if you choose to participate every year, the amount of students and per grade, that can vary determined upon our enrollment and patterns that we see. So there's a lot of control to be able to make that change according to the needs of the district. Also, parents and guardians are responsible for transportation. That's part of the reg. And then the other piece too is that it's real important to know this, that if you have X amount of seats, that if the amount of applications exceed that, there is a whole process that has to take place. It's a random and without discrimination blind draw. And that's really, really critical to this. And also there is a requirement for advertisement, but we set the bar where that might be. As simple as posting on your website, it can be as complicated as you want it to be, or something very simple. And the important thing to note too is from a financial standpoint, the sending district pays tuition to the receiving district. It's $5,000 per student. And there's always an additional $75 administrative fee that is added to that. The other piece too, just around us, the school choice districts, Beverly, Peabody, Masco, Salem, Manchester, Essex, Newburyport, Dryden, Reading, Hamilton, Wenham. There's other districts around us that are part of school choice and have been for many, many years. Just to give an idea of where we are in terms of the amount of students that have participated in choice out of our district, last year was 57.4 students. And that's through grades K through 12. The 57.4, the 0.4 is like one student went into choice the latter part of the year. The tuition out last year was $441,870 that the town, we paid out to those districts. Now you might look at that and say, this will make sense in a second here. The tuition is $5,000, but when you factor the 57.4, that's much less than the $441,000. The key to understanding the needs of students that require special education services above what a district can provide, the sending district is billed for any additional costs. So that accounts for that higher number. This year we have 63 students that are out of the district, and that number of tuition out will be over $500,000. And that comes from the town. It does not come out of the school budget, but it comes out of the town coffers. Like I said, we also, if you participate, control the amount of seats per grade, and it can vary every year. I think that's important. And obviously, if you look at people who might be interested in choice, there's a lot of different factors. People may want something their district doesn't offer. And if you look at the financial issues that are occurring all around us and seeing many programs being cut, this is a prime time to take a look at, we're very stable, so we may offer things that other districts do not. Special education considerations of programming that might be superior in one district over others. There may be situations where families work near a school outside of the district. People may have moved. There could have been situations at the school maybe that didn't go well for that particular student and they wanted a fresh start. There's all sorts of reasons why people choose to participate in school choice. And the staff, our staff that live outside of the district, there's not an option built in the contract to bring their child here. But school choice could offer that option, which I think is important to note. And there is a sibling preference that once you accept the student, you do have to offer sibling preference if you have a slot in the grade that the sibling might want to come to school. Again, the piece that's important about special education services is that if services exceed what we can provide, we can charge the sending district. And Chapter 70 enrollment, which we know is important for foundational monies we receive, if we were to participate, we wouldn't get the Chapter 70 funds from that district, but that enrollment counts toward our number. And this year we were very close in the foundational budget, $75 per student. We were very close by a few students to move to the 104 number, which is substantial. It's about $100,000 difference. We would get the enrollment, although we wouldn't get the Chapter 70 funds. The tuition funds that we would receive, there's no restrictions on their use. It's by statute, the account would be in the school committee like our normal operating. It wouldn't go to the town. And you can build that account over time. It's revolving, so it's there if there's a big item that you're looking to bridge a gap with finances in 1 year. It does help districts survive the ups and downs. It can provide special programming, pretty much whatever we would need it to do. But the key to this is it's a school decision that's based on school committee. If you choose to opt out, you have that option every year. So, for example, if this year we decide to opt in, go for 1 year, next year you could review it and say, we choose to opt out. Thing is, students that would come into our district are entitled to remain until they graduate. Any student you accept through school choice, they stay in your district till they graduate, or if they decide to move and leave the district. So I think there's a lot of controls in place here that I think are important to repeat in terms of making a decision, A, to participate. That can change every year. And B, how many students and where they would go based upon your enrollment patterns. The one thing that came up in our last meeting, that this is a new slide, and we did consult with other districts and our attorney. So if we were to accept a student, here's the scenario, and they would be found eventually to need out-of-district placement, the sending district would be responsible for that payment and that billing. However, they would be invited, of course, to attend the team meeting, and they should be invited to the team meeting to involve a situation like that. So I cited the statute as well. We did our research on this, and I think that's an important thing to note. Again, school choice is a blind process, so there's no screening and there's no selection process, and it should be that way, right? It's designed to allow an opportunity for those that might not be getting that in their community. I believe that we have a lot to offer in Danvers. Everybody around us, and I have some data to show you. I wish we could keep our students here, and we're trying, but they can leave. And if you look at the breakdown, this is this year as of January 1. You can see the breakdown of districts and our students that have left, 63 total. Beverly, Reading, Peabody, North Andover, virtual, there's quite a bit there. And you can see them scattered throughout. Again, I don't know the reason why, and we're looking to put together a survey on that, but at the end, you can see where it breaks down by grade too. So it's not like 63 new students left. That builds over time as they move through. So the districts are all around us accepting students, and they leave because you can break it down in any scenario, but the fact is we do not. So the other piece that I would look at, this is all draft and just looking at enrollment. So if the recommendation were to join school choice, I would make no recommendations for the elementary. If you look at the grades and the average class size, you have to build in variability for move-ins and moving throughout the district. So you can see the class size. We wouldn't want to make any changes there. So if we did opt in, the recommendation from us would be not to have any seats at the elementary level. I think you have growth, though, at the middle and the high school. So when you look at the grades and the enrollment, again, this is a projected, this is a draft, meaning these are numbers we were just looking at. And understand that at the middle school, there's 3 teams per grade, and if you were to take 6 students at grade 6, to filter them throughout the 3 teams, you would not see a noticeable change in the class size. And that 268 is a projection that may be lower, accounting for students who may opt out of the district or go to privates next year. And if you project out grades 7, 8, 9, and 10, just at a base 6, for a total of 30, these students would be absorbed without making substantial changes. You would not even notice the class size change. It's not like all 6. And in elementary is linear, right? A grade 1 class, they stay together, but the high school, middle school, there's, it's a myriad of classes, right? It's a matrix. So again, the thing to note is if that was the recommendation, although 30 seats might seem a lot, it's spread out, right, over the 5 grades. And keep in mind that the seats can change each year based on availability. And again, this is just a draft. So this could be as you choose. If this would be the recommendation for this year, if we accept in, and then next year say, well, we want to take a look at it, and let's say there's a bump in enrollment. A lot of students tend to stay in the grade 6. then that could either be reduced or eliminated. That's totally within our parameter to make that change every year. I think that's a really, really important fact to note. I don't see the elementary really changing much over the next couple of years. The bubbles as they go, we have a robust pre-K coming in. And again, we want to make sure that we keep those class sizes as balanced and as low as we can. And if you look at the scenario based on revenue, if we were to take 30 students, if 30 students would enroll, that would be the tuition that would come in next year's, $150,000. And you could see by just adding 30 each year, if that's what you did, you could see the money that would be stacked if you did not use that money at all. And that's just the baseline without any special education considerations for any charges to any services. Okay. And I think that's important to know. That's just the baseline. So even if out of year one, 20 students did fill those 30 available seats, we would still see considerable, $100,000 revenue. That's revenue we do not have right now. And as we're going through turbulent times and we're doing the best that we can and we're looking for, I think the key thing with choice is to understand that there's value added to having choice in your school, because people would want to come to your school for what you have to offer. Right? I think that's important to note. People, as I said earlier, are leaving their districts for various reasons or leaving ours for something they don't have. I know that we have quality product. I know that we have great instructions and great programs. And looking at a measured piece, if we would choose to go to school choice, is one where it's not going to vastly change the dynamics of the middle and the high school. Right? And the financial piece, I think, can help us if we're looking to bridge gaps, and particularly as we know moving forward, it may be tight the next couple of years. And it is a nice thing if teachers would like to bring their students here, and that works great. But again, that can't be marketed that way. That would just be a nice piece that would coincide with what we have. And the piece about school choice is there's extensive research out there, right? So I found some research from earlier last year, actually, 2024. At that point, there were 187 studies done on school choice. Now, that's a broad thing over vouchers, public-private, a whole vast variety of research studies. It may be more now. But out of that 187, 84 were a positive effect of school choice on the district or the individual or the family or the community. Some with no impact and very little a negative result. I didn't want to go through all the research studies on this, but I was intrigued by this because, there's a lot of thought that has gone into school choice. So it's not a decision you go into lightly. I think you have to look at all the benefits versus the areas that may not benefit and make the best decision that would best benefit the district. I see our students going out, and again, I'm working on the survey. I'd like to know more so we can keep working on our end, but I know we would attract students, and I know that people are vested when they're involved in choice programming because they provide the transportation, they make it work within their family a decision, and they have something that they're not getting in the district what they would get in this district. And I can tell you in my 10 years of experience as an assistant principal in Beverly, where Beverly's a choice district, and an assistant principal does the discipline and does all the things that the principal needs them to do. I can't tell you that whenever there were issues that would occur that it would be, oh, that's a choice student. It wasn't that way at all. And I can say that with confidence and very clearly, not at all. In fact, students come in, and I saw students that actually brought different gifts to the district as well. So it's a thoughtful program. It's one that, I know that, like anything, if the decision is to join the choice, is that trusting us to put together a measured program so that it would be successful in ensuring that we follow the letter of the law, but we also ensure that we work closely with our faculty and staff to make sure that it's balanced and to ensure that, as we go through, if there are different needs that we can always, the option is always ours to make changes. So I think that's an important thing. So I've spoken way too much probably, but we've done a lot of research again, and I know, opening again, I am open for any conversation. If people want to reach out to me and have a conversation, I'm happy to share information on choice. I'm happy to meet. phone calls or whatever it would take, just to communicate the information, then people can make their own minds and their own decisions. That's all I have.
Comments?
I do. Just a couple, I'm sorry.
Thanks for that, Dan. Clarified a number of issues that were raised in some emails that we received earlier today. So I hope they're either watching or they'll see the presentation online, maybe allay some of their concerns. I do want to mention that in your advisory committee that we had, and I was sitting in with them, there was, I could say with full confidence that there was an overwhelming endorsement of school choice by a broad cross-section of people from this town. So I think people digging into the pluses and minuses of school choice, more feedback for us will help us make a decision shortly down the road. Thank you for this.
I'm happy to include this. Usually pretty good at that. I'm happy to include the updated presentation within my update, just so people can see the information as well. Thank you.
I just wanted to try and touch on subjects I think that the community is concerned about but may not need to be concerned about. So for example, from the special education standpoint, not only do we get reimbursed for if a student had to be outplaced, but also for services that we would render within the district. And if I understood that correctly, and I take it that means if we, like occupational therapy, because if we had to contract out or use contracted services, is that what is meant by the in-district?
Yes, anything above and beyond that we would provide, we can bill the sending district.
Okay.
But also, this is a great way for us as we're building our programming.
Mhm.
This can help us to, also check the work we're doing, continue the building in a way where people will want to come here, because I think we do have a big upside.
And it's at basically a neutral cost from that standpoint. Let's see, no seats at the elementary. I'm going to guess that typically people who are going to come to Danvers, if they have to provide the transportation, you're really talking mostly contiguous communities, I would think. I don't know if there are studies that say, yeah, it's a 5-mile radius, it's a 10-mile radius, but I've got to believe it's other local North Shore communities might take advantage of this.
My experience has been in Beverly that, yes, that was mostly the surrounding communities that would come into choice. And it's really an investment on the parents and guardians for the transportation as well. So
Yeah.
some of the feedback from our advisory council where the situation, like, it may come up where a student is struggling with transportation or is struggling with getting to school and such. And sometimes I would have to work with families a little bit on that, but they were really invested very heavily to ensure success for the child to be in school.
And at the numbers, theoretically, that you're talking 6 students at the middle and high school levels, maybe per grade. It's hard to imagine that being even a blip on anybody's radar. So I'm happy to listen to folks in the community, if people want to email and whatnot. Happy to listen to it, but it honestly is hard to see a real downside from the scale of the program we're talking about here. Thank you.
I just want to address something that Eric just asked. I did work in a district that had school choice. It's about 15 minutes north on 95. And when you mentioned the contiguous communities, I had a softball player that came from Lynn. I knew kids coming from Lawrence and Methuen to this smaller town. So it might be mostly people from neighboring communities, but it's also people looking for a chance to do something way different than what they're used to in their neighborhoods type of thing. So I had parents who were driving their kids half hour every day to go to a public high school with the choice. So, I mean, there was definitely a lot it brought to the table for both the people who lived in town as well as the people who were coming in. So it brought a whole different dynamic. So I just wanted to add that to that.
Speaks to the commitment of the parents and the student too, and that's a good thing. That's a positive.
If I were to say, I showed the districts, where our students go, you may see a reciprocal on that. And again, like you said, Sean, there's certainly factors that would be advantageous to attending school in Danvers, but there's also a lot of personal reasons why people may make a switch as well. And again, that's a personal decision and a family decision, so it's not something that somebody would just change their mind and make a change. So it takes quite a bit of effort to do that. And the transition into school is a challenge for a student, right? It's a whole new environment for the student and for the family. So, I think people make those decisions very carefully and do what they think is best for their family and for their child. And again, just knowing a few of the personal cases that I remember working with, it varied. But I can't tell you any difference in this. They were our students. And I thought that a number of them did bring some great gifts to our district, as I said. Nothing's ever perfect, and I don't want to paint that, but nothing's ever perfect for students that are in our own district as well. We do the best that we can, but I know that we have a very professional staff. And again, this isn't about putting a strain or stress on our resources. It's not at all. It does allow some revenue that would be greatly welcomed, but done in a balanced, measured way that does not counter the work that we've been doing, but allows us to keep building on the work that we're doing. I think that's really important.
Awesome. I appreciate all the positive commentary on this and the feedback from the community, and just looking forward to our next session where we can, take our input and make our decision. All right, next up, for new business, the monthly budget report.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
So the different news this month to report, I guess, is good news in the sense that we did receive an initial payment on a state reimbursement on transportation associated with the Emergency Assistance Program. It's really just an advance on a reimbursement that typically does happen, but it often happens the following year based on our end of year report numbers. So last year they instituted a new process where we could report those expenditures in the year that we were incurring them, and then they would process a reimbursement so that we could use those funds to offset them in real time. That first payment was $163,000, and it came in a couple weeks ago. So I was able to apply that to as an offset to the line 802 that has been growing in its deficit. We do hope that there will be additional opportunities that represented a reimbursement of transportation through, I think, December. So certainly the provision of those services has continued since January. So we are hoping that there will be additional opportunities to submit for that kind of reimbursement for the expenses that we have seen January and will see through June. Other than that, there is not a lot of new information to provide. It just continues to be tracking the projections on our special ed transportation and our tuitions, and then the additional instructional assistant positions that we have brought in to try to address the student needs that we've seen this year while our programs are being built up.
To the chair, can I add one thing?
Yes.
So we've been in close contact with our DESE liaison in terms of the 104 per day funding. We received a big allocation from September to December, $495,000, and we're anticipating a second allotment, which they have indicated we will get notice within the next week how much that second installment will be, and that would be a January till March. And then we know we'll have one more installment that will be toward the end of the year. Again, Mary and her team have been working hard as students are leaving our district. Many of them are staying or being transported back in. So we're able to capture, and that funding runs out after this year, but that is a big piece that will close this and allow us to plan for next year as well. So that's a big piece. We hope to have formal notice within a week in terms of when we're going to receive the second installment. Secondly, we've been in close contact with our state representatives. We know the supplemental budget is coming in terms of the circuit breaker relief, the transportation. We've talked about it all year, from 44% to 75% recovery. That's substantial money. So that is moving forward in the supplemental budget, which is huge. In fact, Sally texted today, they're going to another session looking for any other reliefs that can be provided for all school districts. And we had some ideas we provided. So we're getting a lot of communication back and forth with Joan Lovely and Sally. At the state level, we had a superintendent's luncheon 2 weeks ago that was all about funding, and the state representatives and from not just our area but outside the region spoke in terms of advocacy for additional relief for our schools, and knowing that it's a turbulent time for sure. And I think the big question comes down to the federal funding and where that is going to go. And they're also waiting for more information as well. Is that money, the entitlements, it will be shifted to the state, but how will that go? They're still waiting for feedback on that, and told us to, that they're planning their budget and the federal budget comes out after that. So it's obviously creating a little bit of anxiety, but we're looking ahead in the budget, like if things were not to work out as well as they did before, what moves do we need to make? So we've been talking about a lot of that, planning forward, what we may need to do in a worst case scenario, but we're hoping for the regular scenario, which provide, essential funding for, Title I and our IDA grants. So again, there's a lot of advocacy for this, but, we have a lot of things that are coming back, which we're very confident. And the good news is that the regionalization of transportation, 2 bids came back. So the committee is meeting this week to finalize that, and they're still anticipating between an 8 and 10% savings on out-of-district transportation. That's with the consortium, so thank goodness we were involved in that, because that will really help us. And we'll know probably this week what our percentage of savings may be. We have quite a bit of routes, so it might be closer to 10%, but once we have an update, I'll report back to the committee. Sorry, Pam, for joining in on your presentation.
I was going to bring this up under legislation anyway. I did talk to Representative Kearns today. She said on Wednesday there will be a vote on a supplemental budget increase for this fiscal year. I think she said it's $1.3 billion on the table. She thinks it will pass. You never know. But if it does pass, it would bring the circuit breaker reimbursement up to the 75% level. So I'm sure that would help.
Oh, is that it?
Unless you have other
Any other
questions, I'd be
questions?
happy to try to answer them.
In the world of numbers, at your level, we just had, Massachusetts just had a cut from the federal government. I mean, it may be too early, but is there anyone talking about what kind of impact that may have? It was like 1.6 million or 1.2 million or something.
I thought it was 106.
Or was it? You know
Yeah.
what? You're probably right.
Well, that money actually was earmarked toward extended ESSER and extended post-COVID funding.
Oh, okay.
So we are
All
not
right.
involved. That did not impact our district, but it impacted many of our urban districts that had money set aside that they were counting on being able to use. We were out of that, so it didn't impact us, but it hit some districts pretty hard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
You're welcome. Do you want me to stay? The next item on the agenda is related to student activities.
Yeah,
Just in
let's go.
case you need me to help with that, I'll stay nearby.
Okay, the student activity account.
So just to give a brief description, the student activities at the high school and the middle school are things that carry over from one year to the next. But the school committee needs to be involved when an inactive club, inactive student activity organization has funds in their account, and we are going to dissolve them, basically, make them no longer be a student activity, but what happens to the money that they have on account? So this, this anti-discrimination club was created 3 or 4 years ago, and it no longer has any active advisor or active students, but it has $500 in its account. So the recommendation of the principal through the superintendent is to ask the school committee to consider, I guess, appropriating or saying it's okay for that money to be transferred to one of the other student activities with sort of a similar mission statement, which is the PRISM student activity group at the high school.
I would make that motion, Mr. Chair, that the assets of the DHS Anti-Discrimination Club, which amount to approximately $500, be transferred to an account for DHS PRISM, which also exists to promote an inclusive environment at DHS.
Second.
Any discussion? I just have a question. And is it being dissolved because there's no faculty that wants to participate, or is it a lack of student interest? I don't know if one.
I think it's lack of student interest. I
Okay.
think that the,
Fair enough.
yeah, the
Yeah, it shifted.
interest is shifted to another.
Okay, that's my only question. Okay. All those in favor of moving the assets from anti-discrimination club to the PRISM club?
Aye.
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 Aye. None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Pam. Next up, the superintendent recommends the Transportation Policy EEA Appendix for a first reading. Mr. Bauer.
Come back on the projector. Anyway, it is in your folder. One of the things, sorry. As you may know, last year, working with DPW, we acquired 2 vans that we utilize for transportation, extracurriculars, in-district transportation. They're not to be used for fixed routes, so they're what we call non-7D vehicles. So the licensure really is just the typical license that allows coaches to travel, allows teachers to transport. In review of our policy, one of the things that is important to note is that we don't have something specific that drills down to overseeing this practice. So we did research and we vetted this appendix, the policy EEA, Student Transportation Services. We vetted it through our attorney, but we also, quite frankly, the North Shore Consortium has a similar policy because they do a lot of transporting. So we just want to be clear I would request the school committee approves this for a first reading for review, that we add this to policy EEA, just to be very clear in terms of what are the expectations of our staff that drive our vehicles with students. There should be an annual endorsement. There should be an employee in good standing. Obviously, our CORIA and SAFIS checks, which we do anyway for all of our employees. Ensure that there's a valid driver's license, 3 years of driving experience, ensuring that the driving record is a good, solid record. And then we're creating a driver endorsement training through David Pulsifer, our new transportation coordinator, just to make sure that all policies, procedures, and safety protocols are followed. But also understanding that, clearly that if there's any type of moving violation or anything such as DUI or 3 speeding tickets or more, would not allow for any endorsement at all for driving. I know that may sound like common sense, and it is, but we don't have anything articulated in our policy that allows this, and I strongly encourage the school committee to accept this as a first reading, to add this appendix to the policy EEA.
All right, can I get a motion?
I motion we accept the appendix to policy EEA for first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Secretary, on the minutes.
I move that we approve and release the minutes from the March 10th, 2025 regular meeting, and approve but not release the minutes from the March 13th, 2025 executive session.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none? Aye. Motion carries. All right, on to communication.
Mr. Chair. We skipped over item A on number 6.
Oh, the consent.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you. Consent agenda. Motion to approve the fundraising and HRMS Ski Club and assistant track coach stipends and personal memo.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you for that reminder. All right, anything in communication? All right, legislation, I think you covered that unless there's more.
There is really the only other item that we haven't talked about is the fact that, and again, talking with Representative Kearns today, the general budget feeling is they're really concerned about being able to fund some things that do impact children in the next budget. And for example, it looks like they'll be facing having to cut case managers in terms of mental health work. That's going to affect students. There was an article last week where the Trump cuts, and I think the governor talked about the fact that it's hitting mental health services. And if anything, we need more funding and attention on mental health services, not just for students, but for adults. So it's going to be a very tenuous time, and I think all that we can do, as the superintendent mentioned, is number one, advocate, and number two, plan. And but we could be looking at a tough year because the federal cuts are going to trickle down one way or the other. So that's it. Thank you.
Subcommittee liaison updates. I'll say curriculum we just covered, unless there's any additional items on that. Any other items people want to bring up?
I would say the safety meeting, which was held last week, really efficiently run by the superintendent. And we had a presentation similar to what we saw, perhaps in a little more detail regarding the student youth at risk survey. And it was quite good, and again reinforces, I think, the need for good mental health services. I think we're going to be asked to do more in the coming years and to help our students, and probably do that more with a little less. So it's going to be a challenge.
Thank you for that. Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion, were you going to share something with us today? Oh, you have a piece of paper. I thought you were preparing a speech. Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. Anything else for liaisons?
I just want to go back to what we spoke about at the beginning of the meeting. I'm looking forward to working with the new board for the CPAC.
Nice.
And moving things forward. Hopefully, again, we get into that that Apple program. So, thank you.
Mr. Bauer?
Yes, sir. Our equity subcommittee meeting is slated it's scheduled for April 28th, Monday. I put in the memo on Friday. If we could move that to the 30th of April, that would help. Mary and myself won't be available, so.
Spring break?
No, it's the week after.
Okay.
Yeah. The North Shore Consortium, we had a last board meeting. I gave the update on the regional transportation, which is very optimistic. The budget was agreed upon and settled. There is a tuition increase to 8%, which is high. It was down from the projected 9%. And they're going through negotiations as we speak. Our first negotiating session is Wednesday, so they're starting that piece there. So, as well as Danvers Cares met today. I wasn't able to attend, but I don't know if Mike, you were able to attend today's Danvers Cares, but they're really working really hard. The Light the Night Purple event is coming in May. It's a great opportunity to not only recognize those who struggle with substance, but also those family members who struggle with the enormous stress, and the community showing support. So it's a wonderful event. And they're going to do a youth risk behavior survey, Danvers Cares, in the middle school. So they're working on kicking that off very shortly. And I don't know if we have anything for Deep, Mary. We have a couple upcoming events, though.
Yes, but I was going to say that at Danvers Cares today, they talked about having one of our parents, Liz Ferrier, do a presentation on anxiety and when anxiety comes to school. So she did that for our social workers back in February, and she's going to be doing a parent session on April 30th, right after our subcommittee meeting. So at 7 o'clock at night here, right here in the NPR at Holt Richmond Middle School. And any parent that has an incoming sixth grader, they get a 2-for-1 because the incoming sixth grade parent night for Holt Richmond is at 6 to 7, and then at 7, Liz will be here to talk about anxiety, which I think a lot of parents, this is a lot that we grapple with at home.
Excellent. Mr. Shannon.
Liz is great, and her passion in regards to anxiety as it relates to peer pressure devices, especially the devices, is really impressive. So if people can attend, they really should.
Okay, and with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Good night, Danvers, and next meeting is May 12th. Thank you.